Hello, this is Aysha Islam from EMSAB. Today I will be explaining you chapter 2 allocation of resources from the topic price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand, what does it mean? In the definition, it shows that it measures the responsiveness of percentage change in quantity demanded due to a percentage change in prices. What does it mean? It means that we are measuring how much sensitive or responsiveness the demand is, whether the demand is more sensitive or less sensitive or insensitive when there is a changes in the prices of a product. We measure according to this formula, that is percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. When it is more sensitive or it is insensitive or less sensitive or it does not bother, we use the economic terms elastic and inelastic. The word elastic means when the demand is changing by a greater percentage than a changes in a prices. When the Suppose when the price has been increased by 10%, the quantity demanded has been decreased by 50%, which means that the demand is more sensitive, that is known as elastic demand. In elastic demand, the demand is changed by a smaller percentage than a changes in the price, so it is known as inelastic demand. The price elasticity of demand also says that when we learn about price elasticity of demand, we should know that it shows a negative relationship between the price and the quantity demanded, and when there is a negative relationship between the price and the quantity demanded, it shows a downward sloping demand curve. When there is only a changes in the prices, we know that there is a movement along the curve, and as well as it also shows a law of demand, which means that price is increased, the demand is decreasing. When the price is decreasing, the demand is increasing. There are 5 types of elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand, that is relatively elastic demand, relatively inelastic demand, unitary elastic demand, perfectly elastic demand, and perfectly inelastic demand. First, we will be learning about relatively elastic demand. When we measure the responsiveness of the demand, whether the demand is elastic or inelastic, we measure by the formula, and when the answer we get it, if the answer is greater than 1, the price elasticity of demand is greater than 1, which means that it is known as it is elastic demand. That also means that the demand is more responding towards a changes in the prices. Why it is so? Because they are having a lot of substitutes, alternatives, and many options to switch from one product to another product, like Coke and Pepsi. If the Coke has increased the price of 10%, price by 10%, the quantity demand will be falling by 50%, as the people will be switching towards Pepsi, because the Pepsi did not decrease their price, did not increase their price, so they will switch towards Pepsi. So it is known as the more the substitutes a product is having, the more relative the elastic demand is. And the diagram, it shows that when there is, we can see in the diagram, when the price has been decreased by a smaller percentage from P to P1 by 10%, the quantity demanded has been increased by a larger percentage of 50%. So the demand curve is a flatter curve. Example is Coke and Pepsi. Relatively inelastic demand, it means that when we measure by the formula, the result will be less than 1. Price elasticity of demand will be less than 1, so which means that it is less responsiveness towards a changes in the prices. They are having less substitute, no other option to switch from one product to another product, like basic necessities like a rice. If there is an increase in the prices of a rice, if it is 20%, 10%, there will be a little smaller change in the quantity demanded of that product, because it is inelastic demand. Why so? Because they cannot survive, the people cannot survive without rice. They cannot switch towards eating bread or roti, especially for Bangladeshi people. So for Bangladeshi people, rice is inelastic demand, but for another country it might be elastic demand. So when there is a less responsiveness towards the changes in the prices, that is known as relatively inelastic demand. And the diagram shows that when the price has been increased from P to P1 by 50%, a larger changes in the prices, the quantity demanded has been decreased by a smaller percentage from Q to Q1, that is with 10 percentage. So it is having a steeper curve. The demand curve is steeper curve, and there will be movement along the demand curve from A to B. The next is unit elasticity of demand. The result will be equal to 1. The price elasticity of demand result will be equal to 1. There will be an equal responsiveness of the demand due to a changes in the prices. If there is a changes in the price of 10%, the demand will also changes by a 10%. So there is an equal changes in the price and quantity demanded, and we will be showing the demand curve by rectangular hyperbola curve. We can see in the diagram it is a curve like structure, so that is known as rectangular hyperbola curve. So you can see when the in the diagram, when the price has been decreased by 10%, the quantity also has been increased by 10%. So there is an equal changes in the prices and the quantity demanded, that is known as unit elasticity of demand. So perfectly elastic demand, the result will be in infinity. It is a situation where there are thousands of producers, they are selling the same product, so that they have to charge the same prices, and they are also known as price taker, because they cannot set up their prices by themselves, and they cannot influence the prices by itself according to the demand. They will have to charge the same prices as the other producer is charging, because if they are charging a higher prices than the other producer, then the consumer will be switching from one product to another product, because they will be having a lot of substitute. So there will be a complete change in the quantity demand. So it is known as perfectly elastic demand. Why it happens? Because they are selling a homogeneous product, and everyone has a perfect knowledge. The producer also have the perfect knowledge at what price the market is at, so they have to charge according to that. So they cannot charge the price about the price that is being set up. So if they are setting up the prices about that, they will be out of the market. So it is known as a perfectly elastic demand. And the demand curve shows that it is a horizontal curve. We can see that in the diagram, the price and the demand curve is equal. So when there is changes in the prices, it causes a complete change in the quantity demanded. The next, as well as there is a horizontal demand curve. The next is perfectly inelastic demand. The result is equal to 0, and there is a less responsiveness, completely no response from the demand if there is a changes in the prices, because there does not have any close substitute. No substitute is available. It is a situation that occurs where the producer or price maker, they can set up their prices by themselves. For example, life-saving drug, if the price of the drug is being increased, they are being charged. The COVID vaccine is not being given in a free purpose. It is given for cost. You have to pay for it. So if the price has been increased by 10% or 20%, still you have to purchase, or you have to get the vaccine. If you don't get it, you will be dying. So it is your necessity, and you cannot survive with that. You might die, so you have to purchase that. So it is perfectly inelastic demand. So the demand curve is a vertical curve, and even if the price is being increased from P to P1 by 10%, as we can see in the diagram, the quantity demand is unchanged. It is a vertical curve. So it is known as perfectly inelastic demand, which means that the demand does not change when the prices change. So there is a question time. Now it is a question time. What characteristic is likely to make the demand for a product elastic? The option is, it is a necessity, it is habit forming, it is relatively cheap, it has a close substitute. You can pause the video and look for the answer. And the answer is, it has a close substitute. I have explained in the video, it is that when the product is having a lot of close substitute, it means the product is more elastic. The word elastic refers to that. If the product is having a lot of substitute, the demand will be more sensitive. So it is known as more elastic, and the product will be